New York City, November 1944. A KGB officer sits down to write a memo to Moscow. The subject is a woman. His recommendation is chilling. Get rid of her. He doesn't mean fire her. He means something final. The woman doesn't know it yet. She's drinking alone in a rented room in Brooklyn, waiting on a man who may or may not be an American agent sent to watch her. She trusts almost no one left. She's right not to. Because right now, two of the most powerful intelligence services on Earth are quietly deciding what to do about the same woman. The Soviets think she knows too much. The Americans don't even know she exists yet. Her name is Elizabeth Bentley. For 6 years, she has run one of the largest spy networks the Soviet Union ever built inside the United States government. Within a year, she will walk into an FBI office and bring the entire thing down, herself included. New England, 1908. Elizabeth Bentley is born into an old, respectable American family. Private schools, a scholarship to Vassar, quiet ambition, and a talent for languages nobody quite knew what to do with. Nothing about her says spy. In the early 1930s, she studies in Florence. Fascism is loud there, and for a while, it seduces her. She calls Mussolini's rallies thrilling. Then she watches what fascism actually does to people. Something in her turns hard against it. She comes home looking for the opposite. She finds it in the Communist Party of the United States. By 1938, she has a low-level cover job at a pro-fascist library in New York, quietly feeding scraps of information to party contacts. Amateur work, almost a hobby. Then she meets a man named Jacob Golos. Golos is Moscow-trained, careful, unglamorous, a small man in a battered brown hat who nobody would look at twice. He runs Soviet intelligence operations inside the United States, hidden behind a front company called the U.S. Service and Shipping Corporation. He sees something in Bentley immediately: eagerness, discretion, a hunger to matter. He recruits her, and somewhere between the training and the secrecy, she falls in love with him. For the next several years, Elizabeth Bentley isn't just a spy. She's a courier, moving between Washington and New York, collecting documents and film from a growing web of Soviet sources buried inside the American government. Treasury, the War Production Board, even the OSS, the country's own wartime intelligence agency, infiltrated from within. She carries microfilm in her knitting bag. She meets contacts in train stations and hotel lobbies. To the men she runs, she's just a plain, unremarkable. Nobody would ever suspect her. That's exactly what makes her dangerous. Then, in November 1943, Jacob Golos dies suddenly of a heart attack. Bentley is alone, and now she isn't just a courier. She inherits his entire network, dozens of agents, years of tradecraft, secrets pulled from across the American government. Moscow Center should be pleased. Instead, they're nervous. An untrained woman, prone to drinking, now personally controls one of the most valuable espionage rings in America. Her Soviet handlers stop seeing her as an asset. They start seeing her as a risk waiting to happen. Through 1944, Moscow moves to quietly strip the network away from her, piece by piece. Bentley resents every bit of it. She fought for these contacts. She built relationships with people who trusted her completely. Losing them feels like losing everything Golos left behind. Around the same time, she starts seeing a man she meets in a hotel bar. His name is Peter Heller. Something about him doesn't sit right with her Soviet handlers. They suspect he could be an American agent, sent to watch her. Her new controller, a KGB officer using the alias Al, real name Anatoly Gorsky, forces her to hand over every contact she has left. Then he writes to Moscow. Bentley, he says, is a serious and dangerous burden. He even raises the idea of having another agent quietly deal with her. She never sees that memo. She doesn't need to. She can feel the walls closing in, isolated from the party, drinking heavily, grieving a man who trained her to disappear into a crowd, and now certain, rightly, that the people she has served for years see her as a problem waiting to be solved. August 1945. The war in Europe is over. Bentley is on holiday in Connecticut, and something in her finally breaks. She walks into the FBI field office in New Haven. She doesn't confess everything, not yet. She just tests the water, feels out whether these men can be trusted with a story this big. The agents don't know what to make of her. A well-dressed, nervous woman, hinting at things she won't quite say out loud. A month later, everything gets worse. At a tense meeting with her handler Gorsky, drunk on martinis from an earlier lunch, Bentley loses her temper. She calls the Soviet agents around her gangsters. She hints, carelessly, dangerously, that she could go to the American authority. The moment the words leave her mouth, she knows exactly what she's done. Gorsky reports the outburst to Moscow. His recommendation is the same one written almost a year earlier. Get rid of her. Bentley doesn't know the exact wording, but she knows the feeling behind it. She has spent years watching how the Soviet system disposes of people who become inconvenient. Then, in October, one more thread snaps. A Communist Party newspaper editor named Louis Boudin's publicly breaks with the party. He doesn't reveal everything he knows, not yet, but he knows Bentley's name. He knows exactly what she is. Now she's exposed on every side. The Soviets suspect her. An informant knows her secret, and the FBI is still waiting for her to finish what she started back in August. Elizabeth Bentley has run out of places to hide. On November 7th, 1945, she walks back into that same FBI office in New Haven. This time, she doesn't stop talking. Over the following weeks, Elizabeth Bentley gives federal agents one of the most detailed espionage confessions in American history. By November 30th, she has signed a statement running more than 100 pages. Inside it, the names of dozens of Soviet sources embedded across the U.S. government, Treasury officials, War Production Board staff, people working inside the very agencies that helped America win the war she just spent years quietly betraying. Names like Harry Dexter White, Nathan Silvermaster, Victor Perlow, Lachlan Curry, more than 80 agents and contacts in total, spread across a dozen federal agencies. It's staggering, almost too big to be believed. For a moment, it looks like American intelligence has scored a silent, historic victory, a chance to quietly turn Bentley into a double agent, feeding false information back to Moscow while the FBI dismantles the network from the inside, one arrest at a time. Then comes the mistake that changes everything. J. Edgar Hoover shares details of Bentley's confession with British intelligence, hoping for cooperation. The information lands on the desk of a rising star in British security coordination, a man named Kim Philby. What almost nobody in Washington knows yet. Philby is a Soviet mole, one of the most damaging double agents in the history of espionage. Within days, a summary of Bentley's entire confession is on its way to Moscow. By late November, Soviet intelligence sends an urgent cable to every station chief who has ever touched Bentley's network. Cease contact immediately. Warn every agent she could identify. In an instant, the FBI's plan collapses. Every source Bentley named goes dark. Moscow pulls its people back before American agents can catch a single one of them in the act. Elizabeth Bentley didn't just expose a spy network. She triggered a race between two governments, and the wrong side won it first. Elizabeth Bentley never got her quiet, secret victory. Instead, she got something louder and far more painful. In 1948, she testifies publicly before Congress. The press crowns her the Red Spy Queen. For a while, she's a national sensation, a real-life double life splashed across every newspaper in America. But the fame doesn't protect her. It exposes her. Reporters dig into her drinking, her relationships, her contradictions. Some of the men she named sue her for slander. Her testimony, repeated over years to different audiences, starts to shift and blur under pressure, giving critics ammunition to question everything she says. Later, in the early 1950s, she testifies at the espionage trial of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, one small piece in a case that will end in execution. By the mid-1950s, Bentley has quietly rebuilt a smaller life, teaching at a Catholic school on Long Island. Then, in January 1957, her photograph runs in a newspaper beside a review of a film about the FBI. Students recognize her. Parents protest. She's fired within months. She keeps teaching anyway, eventually at a reform school for girls in Connecticut, a long way from the front pages that once carried her name. On December 3rd, 1963, Elizabeth Bentley dies of cancer. She's 55 years old. Decades later, Declassified Soviet cables confirm what Congress and the FBI could never fully prove at the time. Almost everything she told them was true. The woman two governments once wanted, silence turned out to be one of the most accurate informants the Cold War ever produced. She walked into an FBI office not as a hero, not as a villain, but as a frightened woman who had simply run out of places left to turn. And in doing so, she changed the course of the Cold War before most Americans even knew her name. Some stories cross borders the way secrets once did. If you're listening tonight, drop a comment and tell us what part of the world this story reached you from.